So back in 1984, I started interviewing self-made millionaires and billionaires. And 20 years later, in 2004, I put it into a book called 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. And in this book, in chapter number 1, I talked about objective reality, how world-class performers live in objective reality when it comes to their talent, their ability, themselves, their habits, actions, and behaviors, everything. And in signing at least 100,000 copies of this book over the years in many different countries and book signings after speeches and media appearances, most people don't really understand how important this chapter is. Now, fast forward to another 20 years later, here we are in mid-2024, and we are experiencing as a country in the United States, I think, for the most part, but also around the world, the propagation of fantasy, of things that are simply not true. All these different things. It's become political, it's become philosophical, it's become a way of life. Just making gross generalizations and false statements, fictionalized statements about a lot of different things has become the norm over the last 7-8 years. Now, some people say, well, Donald Trump did that. He's such a big liar. Everyone knows. Even if you vote for him, you know he's a liar, obviously. I've known Trump personally for 25 years. He was a client for a long time. He's the biggest liar I've ever met in my life, and probably that you've ever heard about, or maybe you've met him. I don't know. But that's obvious. But I don't think you can even blame Trump for this. Yes, he does that. I mean, that's part of his game. He's done it his whole life. I mean, it's part of his philosophy of winning. I mean, this comes from a one-on-one conversation with him many years ago. Okay, but that said, I don't think we can blame Donald Trump for the actions of literally, at this point, millions of people. So here's the mental toughness view on making false, wishful thinking or fictionalized statements, really, in any context of any kind. Either prove it or shut up. I know, that's harsh. If you're saying, geez, Siebold, you're kind of being a jerk, you know? I don't mean to be a jerk, but it's become such a daily thing. It's all over the news. It's all over the internet. It's all over everything you read. People making these ridiculous, gross generalizations with no evidence or proof to back them up. And millions of other people just take them at face value because that's what a lot of people do. There are a lot of gullible people in the world. They're nice people. Some of them are educated. Some of them are not. But there are a lot of gullible people that will believe almost anything any bully or big mouth says. Here's what I say. Prove it. If you're going to make a claim, if you're going to say, for example, let's go to politics, because that's so popular right now, right? If you're going to say, oh, the 2020 election was rigged, which a lot of people did, prove it or shut up. I'm sorry, but at some point, 61 court cases that prove this was obviously made up by Trump. Trump said he was going to say this before. This is out of his playbook and people buy it. Now, not everyone in the Republican Party buys this. A lot of these people are too smart for that. Okay, they know this is a game. They're playing to try to gain power, obviously. But either prove it or shut up. Well, a lot of people have shut up now because they knew they couldn't prove it and they didn't prove it. All right, so that's okay on that one. Now they're saying the Republicans are saying, oh, the economy's bad. Biden's so terrible. Really? Prove it or shut up. Look at the numbers. I'm not going to go over all the numbers with Biden. You can look it up yourself. The economy is actually pretty good. Yeah, inflation is an issue. Absolutely. Housing's an issue. We have problems. We always have problems, right? But Biden's done a pretty darn good job. It's not a political statement. Look at the numbers is my point. It's not about politics. It's about proof. All right? All right, so let's go to another one. America, here's just a general statement people love to make, right? America is the greatest country in the world. Look, I've traveled all over the world for the last 30 years, giving speeches, appearing on television, radio, all those kinds of things for the work I do in writing my books. Okay, I recognize very clearly that you can make a case, not my opinion, you can make a case with numbers, with examples, like in a courtroom, to say that America is a great country, or the greatest country in the world. I don't know that you can really prove that. I don't think that we certainly are a great country. We've done great things. We have a lot of problems. And I won't go over the details because the point of it is either prove it or shut up. I don't think you can really prove that. You could try, but if you're going to say it, at least back it up with a bunch of facts. That's the point, okay? Here's another one people like to make. America is a Christian nation. No, America is a secular nation. Okay, the Constitution is a secular document. Now, were some of the framers and founding fathers, were they Christians? Yes, and some of them were not. But that really doesn't have anything to do with it. It's not a Christian nation. It was founded to protect people from, religious liberty, so people could have religious liberty. That's why they fled, right, from the homeland. And so it's there to protect religion. It's there to protect the government and keep these things separate, the separation of church and state. It is not a Christian nation, even though some of the people that founded the country were Christians. Okay, but if you want to try to prove it, go ahead, but prove it. Don't just make a general statement because so many millions of people are so gullible that they'll believe anything. All right. Here's another big one. Okay. The idea that a supernatural being exists, talks to you actually, and you have a relationship with this supernatural being. There is absolutely no proof of this. So you can believe anything you want, and that's fine. And everyone's entitled to their belief, right? That's fine. And their beliefs of any kind. You can believe in the flying spaghetti monster. You can believe in that dinosaurs still exist. You can believe that, that Bigfoot is real. A lot of people do, believe it or not. You can believe in the Loch Ness Monster. There's societies full of people that believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Now, obviously, there's no proof and it's ridiculous. Again, a lot of gullible people. All right. But if you're going to make a claim like there's a supernatural being running the world that exists out there that talks to people, prove it. Just prove it or stop talking about it. Because it has no credibility. And, it was great before the last, say, 10 years or so, it seems to me anyway, when you could just have a belief like that, or you could make a statement that wasn't too broad, and people would just say, well, that's just kind of their belief system. I get that. It's just being nice, right? We can't play nice anymore. That's why I say prove it or shut up. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but we're to the point now where people are making so many false statements. They're not living in objective reality. Some of them know it, and some of them don't. The ones that are purposely lying are evil, or they have some evil tendency. There's no question about that. The ones that don't are just gullible, and that's probably most people, Frank. That's probably 90% of the people that believe in this nonsense, okay? But if it comes down to it, if you're gonna be very strong about this, prove it. And if you want to comment on this video, which I encourage you to do, come with your proof. Don't just yell at me or agree with me. Even prove it. Prove whatever your statement is, okay? If you're going to make a bold, gross generalization, prove it or stop talking about it because it's false. It's something to think about because the democracy and the world going forward, the health of the world, especially the psychological health of the citizens of America and the world, relies on us getting back to proving what we say instead of making these ridiculous generalizations with no proof and then just beating that drum over and over again with no proof to back it up. So prove it or stop talking about it. We've got to get back to objective reality. We start where the world really is, the way the world really works, not the way we wish it worked or the way we wish it was, okay? This is reality. Once you're grounded in reality, you can be happy. You can have a great life. You can be successful, and you can know in the back of your mind that you're living an authentic existence and not one that's made up of fantasy.